the board, like actually do your practice work. Because I think some of you are just like going through the motions and you don't actually care what you get, or you don't actually care to remember what you're doing and how you're solving these problems. I structure my mastery assessments to be very similar to what we do on the practice assignments. I'm rewriting every mastery this year to try to make it more manageable and similar to what we're doing on the practice. So it is somewhat surprising to me when like people struggle on certain things, because I feel as if like we covered it and they should have been mildly familiar with it. And I'm looking, I probably have it in my grade book. I had extra copies sitting around. I'm also just kind of trying to kill time right now. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, where is that? Did you know where everyone is?
Nope. I'm sure Mr. Smith will track him down. But with us having a weird creative start schedule, I'm not surprised things got goofed up. The problem is I'm not going to have very long with the students here. So, we're going to dive in, and they can always watch the video to catch up, right, which is one of the reasons I do the videos. So look at number 1. We're probably not going to spend much time on that. Easy is relative. Easy is relative. Be careful saying easy, because it's a relative statement. Saying that was easy is dangerous because it's not easy for everyone. So positives and negatives, here's what people screwed up. Multiplication versus addition. Okay, in multiplication, a negative times a negative equals what? A positive. But in addition, a negative plus a negative, what? Equals a negative, a bigger bad guy, right? So that's where we had most of our mistakes. And then, if it's positive negative, multiplication ends up negative. But addition, you got to figure out which one wins the battle, right? So that's where that gets kind of weird. In 2, most of us were fine there. You just had to show that her numbers were correct. If you thought that she was incorrect, check your math. If we multiply -3 and 1 together, or if we add -3 and 1 together. By the way, the reason I don't have the test pulled up on the TV is because this is different. Like, I modify it even once I download it, and that's on my laptop because Word doesn't work. It's just, don't worry too much about it. Word doesn't really work on this computer. Yeah, take another minute or so to look at that. It would be beneficial if I could put it up on the screen. So I'm going to see how different the PDF is. I'm going to download this really fast.
When are you going to be able to correct it? Oh, never mind.
So we're like, you should have a piece of paper out right now writing down some of those. Like what we do together. So if you need me to slow down or review a problem, I will. But then, so your way, hey, so if you're walking in right now, I have tests to give you back up here. Ethan, I got a test for you. So the PDF might work. What creative start would you do?
Orchestra.
Did you guys get confused with the schedule?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured was going to happen.
Did you guys do
Kevin?
Did you guys do social studies? No.
They thought you guys actually went to social studies. So, like, notice number 2, I did not give it to you guys as multiple choice, but in the test it was, so then I modified that once I downloaded it. So 3, we had options, and this is where people run into trouble. I can either group my negatives first, like put my bad guys together, and then add the 6, or I can do -5 plus 6, get +1, and then add a -2 to that. Either way should get me the same answer, right? Either way should get me the same answer. And B, you just got a good guy and a bad guy fighting. Who wins? Good guy, bad guy. Bad guy by how much? 2. So that turns into -2. Nathan, I got a test to give you back here. So we are going over the tests, and those of you who got here on time. And Nathan, I know you're not, like, it's not your fault that you're late. I know that the schedule got weird today, so Jalen. We're reviewing this. You need a piece of paper out right now to write down corrections. And then Monday, I will have a separate progressing to mastery that I'm writing based off what we struggled on this test. Okay, so based off what we had difficulties with, that's how I write the progressing to mastery. 4, I believe I had it pretty similar. By the way, guys, your homework, if you just got in here, I'll put back up on the TV. It was to study what you missed on the test, / because this is how you study, actually do the practice work, like care about the accuracy. If you can't do it, go to homework help, go somewhere, Google it, something to help you figure out how to solve it, or ask me, text me. Did I talk about that 8th grader in this class who still texts me like this year for help? So just send me a quick text, hey Hudson, can you help me? I'll be like, yeah, what do you need? She'll send me a picture of the math problem. And just like, yeah, how do I do this? Or I'm stuck at this step, or here's what I have so far. No, it's actually Kaylee. Demeter, you know. There you go. Is Sky here today? Do we know?
No.
She's not? Okay. So we have everyone now. So just so it's been said one more time, you need to be doing the corrections right now because I expect to see those. Like, you're going to turn this back in today, and I'm going to give it back to you on Monday. But you're going to give yourself a grade on this. Whether you think you would have deserved a mastery or a progressing or what. So, hey, just give me your eyes for a second. Quit looking at your test. Quit writing things. So, we have about 13 minutes left because the schedule's real goofy today. Yeah, I know. Classes are going to go fast because only half an hour. So, right now, you should have a blank sheet of paper out. You are not writing on your test or any graph paper that you already turned into me. Okay, so you don't have blank graph paper. I think that stacks out. This drawer is always going to have, like, a lot of graph paper in it, just so I can keep a bunch in there. Over there, it might, like, blow away by the fan or whatever. So, if you need a piece of graph paper, grab it here, or if you're tall enough, up on top of that thing, yeah, where Eva's pointing. I'll get more and put it here, but we're out right here, so grab some from the drawer, Nathan. So Monday, and this is part of like as we get into the year and as we get into heavier content, on Monday I will have a separate like homework assignment that's probably going to be like 5 or 6 problems that hit on the main issues we had on this assessment. That will be how you go from progression to mastery. Now here's the deal with giving yourself a grade. Be honest with yourself. The biggest thing that really I hope that you guys got out of our like family meeting this morning is if you're honest with yourself about what you know, what you don't know, what you have done, what you don't have done, how fast you can work, how slow you like. If you're honest with yourself, everything's going to be easier. So if honestly you did not show on this assessment mastery of the skills we've been learning, you're progressing, and that's okay. I'm progressing at bringing trees down. I hit my neighbor's house accidentally. It's okay, it's fine. I just bent the gutter. But like, I know what I'm progressing at. I am mastered at changing oil in a car. I can do that like with my eyes closed. But I can't bring down trees great because I goofed it up. Like, I know this. I'm honest with myself. Just be honest with yourself. And I'm debating because of our lack of time whether I just let you guys take this home, but I'm worried that then some of you will lose it and you'll have to do it all over again. So, each percent as fraction and decimal. What does percent mean? 100. Out of 100, right? Per 100. Guys, you didn't have to reduce any of these. Did I say reduce or simplify? No. I just said rewrite. So like 16 over 100, that was easy, right? But here, sorry, 0.16, here's where people had issues. 145 doesn't matter. Hey Casey, are you with me? Brandon, do I really have to go through the if it's not yours, don't touch it? Yeah, this is why I don't teach elementary. I literally, if I hadn't talked about this, I made the choice in college to have to go a semester longer to teach higher grade levels. I was on track to have a 4 through 9 licensure, grades 4 through 9. At a couple placements, I'm like, I do not want to teach 4th grade, 5th grade, not even really 6th grade. So that's why we start to get frustrated with like, why are you off task and just like, I took your computer, I took your water bottle. Like, come on, guys, it's 7th grade. 145% still, and a lot of you had issues on this, goes over 100. But that being an improper fraction, 1.45. 2%, a lot of us, and this is wrong, so I'll write it in red, a lot of us put 0.2 for the decimal. That's wrong, because it's actually 2 over 100, which when I say that properly is 2 hundredths. Right? So that is in the second decimal place, because this is tenths, this is hundredths. Questions? You got to be honest right now, because if we don't have questions, I'm going to keep moving. Most of us were pretty good. By the way, I'm going to film the other Math 7 class too, because we got such a late start. So if you ever need access to this stuff, hopefully in the other class we get all the way through the test. I don't know that we'll get all the way through the test today. Most of us were good on these. Recognizing patterns is something that our brain is kind of hardwired to do. So 8, 12, 16, 20, most of us were able to figure out, oh, it goes up by 4. Now, what some people got wrong was you were supposed to explain the pattern in words. So, like, say, increase by 4 or add 4 every time. Now, most of us read, what are the next 3 numbers? Most of us had that on our test, but a lot of us didn't have it in words. Okay, but you got to read carefully, right? You got to get used to read the whole problem, read it a couple times, make sure you have the whole thing answered. Isaac?
So I'm confused. You like circled it, but you put a check mark.
So... Oh, you didn't give the next 3 numbers. You gave the verbal pattern, but it asks what are the next 3 numbers in the pattern. So you got to check on the verbal pattern. You gave me the verbal pattern, it was correct, but you didn't give me the next 3. So like here, the next 3 numbers would be 24, 28, 32. The second one, we go up by 7 every time. The third one is where a couple people had some issues. We're going down now, right? Down by 3, or a couple people, and pat yourself on the back if you did this, said add -3. Awesome. I loved seeing that. So then the next number's 2, then -1, and then -4. On 6, it does say simplify, which hopefully we're getting used to meaning, okay, I should turn you off, which hopefully we're getting used to meaning do the math, right? Simplify means do what you can, like solve the math. So in A, what are we doing? What operation? Well, what operation? Add, subtract, multiply, divide. Multiplication, right? Go through and check your sign first. Negative times negative times negative. What's that going to give me? Ah, careful. How many negatives? 3. So it ends up negative. Then 4 times 5 times 2. 4 times 5 is 20 times 2 is 40. Ava, what's up?
You circled all of that and then you put finish.
Probably because you didn't go all the way. You probably did like one step of the multiplication, but you didn't do all of it. See me later if you need.
Well, I simplified it because that's what it said.
But simplify means go as far as you can.
Oh, well, I didn't get the answer.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is you got to keep going till you get the answer.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. Like, so it wasn't wrong, but you didn't go all the way.
Okay.
Right? So like if I'm digging a well and I get the whole 5 feet deep, that's great. But if I don't hit water, like I'm on my way there, but I got to get to the water down there. Now addition. Bad guy, bad guy, bad guy. What are we gonna get? Mega bad guy. Guys, this is why I've taken on the bad guy, good guy thing. If you like think of a room or a space. In walks bad guy 5. In walks another bad guy 5. In walks a bad guy 1. They don't fight against each other. They probably sit down and have coffee and discuss who they've taken out that day. Like it's bad guy power 11 now. Not really power, but like strength. 8.
Are we gonna be able to get to 8?
Yeah, I mean I'm moving as fast as I can.
Okay.
Here, this is where people screwed up in C and D. So I'm going to delete this so I can just talk specifically about those. In C, what needs to happen first? Joey? The multiplication. So this, and this is what got people, that has to happen first. That's going to give us, well, what's a negative times a positive? Negative, what's 7 times 6? 42. Then we have 68 plus negative 42. I'm not going to finish solving that for you. I just wanted to correct that first step if needed. D, same story. We got to multiply first because order of operations. And guys, I didn't write as much on your tests as I would normally because I knew we were going to go over these together. So on a lot of your tests, I would have needed a right order of operations. If you got these wrong, it's because of order of operations. I think one or two of you had simple math mistakes, like you just did the math wrong. Like 7 times 6, you got something that wasn't negative 42. But here we get negative 24 plus negative 6. Bad guy, another bad guy, gonna make a bigger bad guy. Questions? Be honest, or we're moving on. Ava.
When you multiply a positive to a negative, wouldn't that be negative?
Yes, because if there's only one negative, if it has nothing to pair up with, stays negative. But if you have another one, then it becomes the opposite of a negative, which is positive. 7, most of us got these absolutely right. I have to be able to see it. New means not very, like not far on the age, very valuable, V. Now, you were supposed to put a point. I kind of let it go if you just put the letter, but read carefully. It says place a dot. So technically, if you didn't put a dot, you were not correct. W, not too old, but worthless. Right? Like the thing I made in kindergarten. It's not that old, and they're all my paintings, and no one cares. It's worth nothing. X, very old, very valuable. There you go. And you could have had these a little bit different. Like some people put X like above the V because it said like very valuable, as of like, but they were both very valuable. So really, by my perspective, X and V should be relatively same height because both very valuable, and then worthless. This is 0 value, right? The value axis, we're at 0. Diamond problems, which is also why I edited the test because these get kind of goofy.
Hard.
We have been working on these a lot, and then I put this on the chalkboard, right? So it's not on the test, but I put it on the chalkboard. We have to figure out how to produce or multiply to make 3 using -1. That's all the clues that we need. If I multiply to make a positive, what does my other factor need to be, Isaac? Negative, and then I figure out how to make 3, and exactly what Isaac said, -3. Then I add them, -4. Right, bad guy, bad guy. Now I have the sum and the product, and this is the hardest type of diamond problem to solve. I'll be straight up with you guys, this is the hardest type of diamond problem to solve. I have to think through factors of 14 until I find what will add up to 5, but they're both negative. So the first thing you should ask yourself is signs, right? The movie Signs creeped me out, but that's the first thing you want to think about when solving these problems, to multiply into a negative. Ivan, what do I know about these numbers? You had your hand up, didn't you?
One's negative, the other's positive.
One is negative and the other is positive. When I think about adding to make -5, the negative has to be bigger, right? Like stronger, because if they fight, the negative wins. Think through your factors of 14. 1, 14, 2, and ooh, difference of 5 here. So if I make my 2 positive and my 7 negative, will they add up to -5?
No.
Yes. Those are the hardest to solve, but if you think through the factors of the product, you'll be okay. Now I have no product here, but I have the sum. What needs to add with 6 to make 4? A negative, right? Because I have to actually get smaller or go down, and then go down by how much? 2. Now we can multiply 6 times -2. Do your sign first. Positive, negative makes a negative. 6 times 2, 12.
Can we skip 10 really, really fast?
Mr. Smith, when does this technically end?
With 14.
14, okay, I do have 4. Let me do 9 real quick,
Oh,
just because
I thought
we
it ended at
actually
10.
have 4 minutes or 3
I
minutes.
thought it ended at 10.
I assumed right about 10. So, fraction. Now, a couple of us just, I think, miscounted because the shading was off in this. This is 4 tall and 6 wide. 4 times 6 gives me a space in here of 24. So it's 24 out of your 100. or 24 hundredths, or 24%. Most of us were all right with that.
Well, you were like, bam.
I told you fast. And this is recorded if you need to go back and see it again, or slow me down, or come and ask me questions about it. And I do get those YouTube comments, by the way. So if you comment on YouTube, I will respond to you. Don't use your first and last name. Just use your first name, so I know who you are, and then we can chat about it at school, or text me, or whatever. Decimals to percent, and I incorporated these a few different places on the test to try to like relate with each other. Percent. That means out of 100. I'm gonna start easy. I'm gonna go this way first, because it's easy. If you have a percent, put it over 100. So 8%, 8 over 100. Don't overthink it. You don't have to reduce it. You don't have to do anything else. You can just leave it right there. Now you could reduce it. You don't have to though. 37.5%. I would have even accepted that. It's not appropriate, but I would have accepted it because where we are in the year, the appropriate way to write this is bump my decimal over and add a 0 on bottom. So this becomes 375 over 1,000. That's the appropriate way to write it. But I would have taken this, and we're going to start to incorporate this word as we go more, is a complex fraction, which are bad because they're complicated. A complicated fraction, we don't call it complicated, we call it complex, but it's complicated. It's got a decimal in the fraction. It's not actually quite right. So this would be the proper form of that one. Now going this way, we have to think, what is the actual name of that decimal? So up here, it starts easier than down here. This was the hardest one. I think that caught the most people. This is 45 hundredths. Right, if I read that properly, well, okay, so that's my percent, right? If it's over 100, that's my percent. The next one, if I read it properly, 675 thousandths. Well, darn it, I'm not over 100, but I could force it to be over 100. Brendan?
It could be 67.5 over 100.
Yeah, if I bring my decimal here and bring my decimal here, it's 67.5%, which is why I gave you guys this one. So in your brain, you had like a 0.5% going on in your brain. So you had to go both directions with one of those weird percentages. And then here, 5 thousandths. Right? Again, force it. If I force this to become 100, this decimal, this becomes 0.5%. Now here's my concern. And I let you guys keep these over the weekend to like study other things, because you're gonna be like, everybody in here, regardless of what grade you give yourself, is probably gonna work on this other like worksheet that I have next week to go from progression to mastery. If you're gonna lose this, don't take it home. However, you need to correct every question we got wrong. So if you want to keep working on this at AO or over the weekend, like take this with you, but put it in your math section. But if you're like, man, I really I lose and that's a different issue, right? If you have problems losing stuff, we need to work on your organization. So I would like you guys to take this with you, and we'll talk about it again on Monday, also because we're just completely out of time. But if you're going to lose it, don't lose it. Right? So I don't know what the good solution is. Either leave it in my bin, I guess, or what. But you should take this home because we're not done with the corrections. Whatever you want, it's fine. Make sure it's headed. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that works for you.
Since a fraction and a decimal both represent part of it, wouldn't a decimal fraction be part of it?
It depends on how it's set. But yeah, so if you have 37.5 out of 100, it's just part of a whole, but the part is 37 and a half out of the whole. So the half is part of a part, right? So what you're saying is true, but like it depends on what we're actually talking about. Like, is it a physical thing that there's half of an object, or is 37.5%, 37.5 out of 100, is that actually an entire thing? So like, if I had 6 gumballs and one of them is red, that's going to be 16.6 repeating percent. But that's a whole gumball. So that's just part of the whole. My whole group is 6 gumballs. Part of it is 1 as part of a whole. But it becomes a complex value because it repeats forever. So it's very, like, that's a hard question to answer. So it's a good question. Yeah, questions that are hard to answer are good questions. Yeah, I think you showed me this once before. He looks the same. His hair is just blonde, but he looks like the exact same George.